Hello friends and welcome to my craft room. If you're new to my channel, you will be surprised to hear that I have owned over 17 different laser machines of all different types. That's right, 17. And I created a list because it's that long. I had a tough time remembering. So without further ado, my very first laser was a Glowforge. Then I had an Epilogue. Then I got the X-Tool P2 and the P2S. I also have the Omni 1, an F1 and an F1 Ultra, the X-Tool S1, an M1 and an M1 Ultra, a WeCreate, a D1, and there's also 5 other machines that I will name nameless because they're not fun to talk about. And that brings the whopping total to 17. And yes, I have played with every single one of them. So I would consider myself to be a laser expert owner or an expert laser owner. With that being said, the reason why I'm here today is because every single time I post any type of video using one of my laser machines, I get asked, should I get this one or should I get this one? What are the benefits to this or that machine? Because actually, there are very different types of lasers, and I'm going to get into that today because what I have found out myself, being my own laser owner, is that there is unfortunately not a one-size-fits-all type of laser machine for a crafter. You heard that right. Unfortunately, not one laser will be able to do all the projects that you see other laser artists do. There is a wide variety of different types of lasers. The ones that I'm going to be talking about today is a diode, CO2, fiber, infrared, and a UV laser. So we are going to talk about 5 different types of lasers. And the reason why we're going to talk about the 5 different ones is because I actually have them, use them, and know what they are capable of doing. So if you are just wanting to figure out what type of laser that you need to buy, this video is for you because I'm going to tell you exactly what laser module is going to work for your projects. The first laser module that we're going to talk about is quite possibly the most popular one of all the ones that we're going to talk about. The reason for that is because they are very affordable to make and also to purchase. The module that we're going to be talking about is a diode laser, which honestly is going to be your most beginner friendly and affordable laser that you will be able to find. There is one key term that you are going to hear often, and that is wattage. What wattage means is, in layman's terms, is the more wattage you have, the thicker and faster your machine will cut. So typical diode lasers range from a 5-watt laser to a 20-watt laser. Sometimes you can even find it at a 55. So obviously what that means is a 5-watt laser is going to go a lot slower and also not cut as much as something that you could probably find in a 55-watt diode laser. Now the drawback to a diode laser is that it is a blue light laser, meaning you're not going to be able to cut all materials like you would see most lasers cut using a different type of laser module type. That being said, there's definitely a huge list of materials that you can cut and also engrave with a diode machine. You could do wood, leather, and some acrylic. Now, I am going to be 100% transparent with you because a lot of companies and also some users would like to have you believe that a diode laser can cut all acrylics. I'm here to tell you that if in fact one person is saying that they did a one good cut of clear acrylic, that is definitely a fluke. They probably tried hundreds, if not thousands of times to get that one seemingly decent cut. I can tell you right now, without a doubt, that if you are looking for a machine that can cut and engrave acrylic, a diode laser is not going to be for you. There are other options that are going to work well for you. But again, that doesn't mean that you can't do other materials like wood, leather, or even paper. So the pros of owning a diode laser obviously is it's cost efficient. These things are cheap. Sometimes you can find a diode laser brand new for under $500. Generally, the footprint of these machines are pretty small, so you don't have to have a large craft space in order to actually have a laser. And then also it's great for that general hobbyist that doesn't really want to sell their products to make money, but want to have the ability to own a laser. Now, the cons of owning a diode laser is that it's slower, it's not as powerful, and it struggles to cut and engrave on lighter materials and plastics like clear and translucent acrylic. My most favorite diode laser that I have ever played with is the Xtool M1 Ultra. The reason for that is it gets rid of a lot of these crafting machines right here, like your Cricut or your Caesar machines, but it also is an inkjet printer, and then it's also a diode laser. So if you've never owned a laser before and you're wanting to get into the crafting hobby, I would definitely suggest picking up the Xtool M1 Ultra for your diode laser. The next laser module that we're gonna talk about is the CO2 laser, which I have to tell you is going to be my go-to laser. The reason for that is because I feel like it's the most versatile one out of all the other laser modules that we're gonna talk about today, but also it can cut and engrave all acrylics, which I would like to say first and foremost that I'm a cardstock crafter, but secondly, I love playing with all types of acrylic. So the CO2 laser is going to be for me because I love that craft. Now again, we're going to talk about wattages. CO2 laser wattages range anywhere between 40 watt and 150 plus. Obviously, the more wattage you get, the faster it'll go and the thicker the material will be able to cut. The CO2 lasers work best with wood, all acrylics, leather, rubber. It can engrave glass, but I would be very mindful when engraving on glass with a CO2 laser. And it also can mark on stainless steel if you purchase a secondary product like a laser marking spray. So the pros of having a CO2 laser is that you obviously can cut and engrave on all types of acrylics. It's also faster and can handle thicker materials. Now, the cons of owning a CO2 laser is that the very first thing is that it's costly. I believe the cheapest CO2 laser that you can possibly find is at about $5,000. The second thing is that it has a larger footprint. So while the diode lasers have a very small footprint and are often compact, you're gonna have a larger area in order to use your CO2 laser. Also, there's gonna be a little bit more maintenance to this, like cleaning your mirrors and your fans. But your diode laser will also need some maintenance too. Not as much as your CO2. The particular CO2 laser that I have in my craft room right now is the Xtool P2S. I absolutely love it. And the reason for that is the bed size is pretty large. It's like 12 by 20 inches, but there's an accessory that you can purchase that is the conveyor feeder that allows you to cut and engrave on really long pieces of material. So you're not stuck to a 12 by 20. You also can get the riser base so you can engrave things like tumblers and basketballs if you wanted to. And the list goes on and on. I absolutely love my Xtool P2S, and it is my go-to machine whenever I'm doing any type of crafting. The next laser module that we're gonna talk about is going to be found in my Xtool F1, and that is an infrared laser. Infrared lasers do a really good job at engraving metals, all types of metals. Take my gold necklace that I have engraved with my Xtool F1, and then also this right here that is metal. It also does a really good job at engraving plastics like dark acrylic. If you are a crafter that loves customizing jewelry, an infrared laser is exactly where you need to be. I also forgot to mention that an infrared laser will also engrave on metals without any type of fixture spray. Unlike a CO2 laser where you have to spray a spray onto a metal surface in order for it to engrave, you don't have to do any type of prep work with an infrared laser. They are super fast, which is amazing, but the con here is that it's not very versatile. You're really only going to use your infrared laser for things like metal and sometimes plastic. Now, the great thing about an infrared laser is generally when you see an infrared laser, it is in a combo laser. Just take the Xtool F1 where it is a combo with a diode laser. So you're getting a diode laser and also an infrared. The great thing about the Xtool F1 is that you don't have to switch out heads in order to move from a diode to an infrared. You can just toggle that on and off within their software. So technically, you're getting the best of both worlds with a diode and also an infrared. Unfortunately, though, I've never seemed to find a combo that would include a CO2 and an infrared, which is a bummer. I don't know why a company hasn't come out with one of those, but I've never been able to find one. The next laser module that I want to talk about is the fiber laser module. Fiber laser modules is really stinking cool, but it is a niche item. So fiber lasers also work off wattages, and oftentimes you'll find them in a 20 watt all the way up to 100 plus. Now, depending on the wattages, remember, you're going to be able to do more things or cut more things. My fiber laser is connected to the X-Tool F1 Ultra, so it's a fiber laser and a diode laser, making it a combo piece. Sometimes you find them as a combo, sometimes you just find them as just a fiber laser. I have noticed that the higher the wattage of the fiber laser, it's probably going to be a standalone. This is only a fiber laser, just like the CO2 lasers are. But for my X-Tool F1 Ultra, I have a lower wattage fiber laser paired with a diode laser. So I do get the best of both worlds. Now, a fiber laser can engrave on all metals like the infrared laser, but it can engrave deeply on your metal. So if you are looking to engrave like coins or do your own wax seals, this is going to be for you. Also, it can cut metal. Now, my low wattage fiber laser can cut metal. It takes a really long time. It can do it. But if you were to get a higher wattage fiber laser, you'll be able to cut it no problems. Now, another pro of owning a fiber laser is that they are super fast. The engravings on the metals that I have done are phenomenal, and there's not a whole lot of maintenance to them. But the con here is that it's really expensive. Also, it doesn't work well with woods, acrylics, leathers, all of that stuff. I forgot to mention that with the X-Tool F1 Ultra, if you try to do a wax seal, which is something I would really wanted the X-Tool F1 Ultra to do because I love making my own wax seals, it will literally take you 8 hours to create one wax seal. So while the idea of having a fiber laser was so mind-blowing to me because I could make my own wax seals, I didn't realize before getting the machine that it would take me all day to make one wax seals. So the plus is that I can make one. The minus here is that because it's a lower wattage, it takes me forever to make one. Now, the last and final laser module that I want to talk about is the UV laser. The UV laser does not work off of wattage. It works off of UV ultraviolet light. The cool thing about a UV laser is that it engraves without any heat. So every other laser that I've talked about creates some sort of heat when it's engraving. So remember when I talked about the CO2 laser and I had said technically you can engrave glass, but you have to be very careful, and that's because the CO2 creates heat. So when you're engraving glass, you can crack or explode the glass. Unlike a UV laser, you can engrave on glass without any type of prep work, and you'll never crack it or explode it because there's no heat that's being created for the engraving on your glass materials. Now, UV lasers are definitely one of the not so popular lasers. The reason for that is one, they're super expensive, and two, it's a niche product. The UV lasers are best used for plastics, ceramics, and glassware. You probably wouldn't even know this, but on the back of like your electronics, do you see this right here? This is actually not printed on my hard drive. What this is UV printed. It changes the molecules within the actual plastic and doesn't give it like any type of raised feel. When we talk about UV lasers, it has the thinnest type of laser, so you're able to capture some really, really fine detail. Unlike all the other lasers that I've talked about, the laser beam itself is on the larger side, so you can't do really thin, fine detail with the other lasers. Unlike the UV, because it has such a small little wavelength, you can do fine detail. But the drawback here is that it is pretty pricey. Now, the one particular UV laser that I have here in my craft room, I absolutely love. It is the cheapest one on the market, and I believe it's the only crafting or hobbyist UV laser out there. Most of the time, you find a UV laser in manufacturing settings of people that are creating hard drives like this, or even the backs of our phones. You see that small little fine print on the back of your phone? That was made with a UV laser. All right, now that you've heard my entire spiel on every single laser type that I personally own, did I miss a type of laser? I feel like I have owned every single type of laser out there, but I could be wrong. Now, while I have talked a lot about the Co2 lasers in this video, it's because I have them. I can tell you right now that if you see a diode laser that is a different brand and you see another diode laser that's an Co2 and then you see another laser that's also a diode and it's a different brand, all those lasers are all going to be the same. Don't let a brand name confuse you. If you see a diode, all diodes do the same thing. If you see a CO2, no matter the brand, it does the same thing. So on and so forth. So with that being said, if you don't own a laser, which laser are you leaning towards? I strongly believe that the Co2 M1 Ultra, if you are a beginner laser, is going to be your most user-friendly first. Second is going to be your most budget-friendly, gives you the most bang for your buck type of laser that you can possibly get. However, if you are a laser that is more than a hobbyist, that wants to sell your stuff, or also a crafter that specifically wants to cut out anything that is acrylic, you're gonna wanna stick to a CO2 laser, which, mind you, that is my go-to laser. All right, y'all, I sure hope I was able to help you out on trying to figure out what lasers do what projects so you can make a better purchase with your hard-earned money. That being said, if you are at all curious about any of the lasers that I've mentioned, make sure and look over my channel. I have hundreds of videos of all of the lasers that I have here in my craft room. I show you softwares, I show you the pros, I show you the cons, I show you what I create, all throughout the videos that I post here on YouTube that make it so it's easier for you to learn and see firsthand what you can do with what machine. I will see you on the next one.